Hi, welcome to the latest episode of Lifting the Lid. My name's Andy Ely. I'm a Senior Funeral Director with G Seller Independent Funeral Directors, and we've been serving bereaved families since 1910. I'm sure you're all well aware there's lots of myths, misconceptions and taboos around what happens behind the scenes within the funeral profession. So we've decided to put together this series of podcasts to try and dispel some of those myths and of course answer any questions. So please do like, share and subscribe and ask those questions. Send us an email, liftingthelid@gseller.co.uk, and we will do our absolute best to answer them for you. It genuinely is our family caring for your family. So today I'm joined with my colleague Joe, my co-host. Hello Joe.
Hello.
So we're going to talk about personalisation. How can we personalise and make the funeral about you and your loved one? There's lots and lots of things we can talk about here. Lots of different things in fact. A venue for a start. We start simply with that. I mean, we don't have to have a crematorium or church, do we?
No, absolutely. People think immediately, don't they? Where would you like your funeral service? I'll go to the local crematorium, or like you say, a church of whatever faith. All sorts of different options. I mean, we have our own service chapel, of course. You can utilise that.
Absolutely.
But I've done a service in someone's barn before now. You know, farmer who passed away. You've had services in some unusual places.
Yeah, so I've had a motorsport circuit, Mallory Park, our local circuit. A similar thing. We've had services in fields, haven't we, as well?
Yeah.
And I think it's quite important. Something that you mentioned there about people seem to naturally assume that we have to have a local venue, a local crematorium. It doesn't have to be, does it? It can be absolutely anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's just the venue. So when transport, getting there, a hearse is the tradition, but again, we're not restricted to just...
Well, people think of a motor hearse, don't they? So, I mean, we have Mercedes motor hearse, but of course it could be a horse-drawn hearse. It doesn't have to just be black horses. You know, I mean, the places we use, white horses, grey horses, carriages to match, they can be different colours. The plumes on the horses can be different colours, doesn't have to be black. You know, personalisation there is really...
it can be absolutely about that individual. Yeah. Tanks, I've seen a tank hearse, motorcycles, Land Rover, that's quite...
You've ridden on motorcycle hearse, haven't you?
I have, yeah. One more and I think I get a trophy. So.
I mean, I remember we used a trailer for a hearse once, so again, farmer.
Brilliant.
Hearse, the coffin went onto the back of a trailer. As long as it's safe and we can work out, you know, practically how to do it, then there's no real limit to it. You know? Absolutely.
And of course the route to the venue as well, we can keep that. That can be personal. So if there's I've passed and paused at pubs, bookies, all sorts of different places, perhaps an old house or a school, place of work. You know, it's quite important to have the route that's suitable as well.
And again, it doesn't have to be en route to the place where the venue is. You know, it can be a little bit out of the way. We'll work out how to get there, and then we can make our way to the service venue from there, can't we?
I think it's just important to have that pause, doff of cap, and then carry on. I think we've also had so the Mallory Park that we were talking about. I actually played the deceased's favourite music on that journey. So in the hearse, we had some fantastic. We had Metallica blaring out with us. So it was all very, very different. I mean, talking about music, that's quite an important one. That really is personalisation, isn't it? We can
I think 1% of people actually know what they want music-wise or what they want for their funerals, don't they? I mean, you consider what music you want for yours?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was born, Ashes to Ashes, David Bowie was #1. So I'm thinking that, but maybe an instrumental version of it.
Didn't realise the song was that old.
Yeah, all right. I knew there was some witty comment there. So what about you?
I've got to be honest, I'm one of those 1%. I've not really thought about it, but as a Doctor Who fan, I've always quite fancied having the sound of the TARDIS as the curtains close around me. But not much to say about that.
We'll leave that there. We'll move on. I mean, we hear all sorts, don't we? So more often than not, it's a similar sort of music. Jerry and the Pacemakers, You Never Walk Alone. If you've got Formula 1 fans, it's The Chain, but...
Only the last 20 seconds.
The last 20 seconds on a continual loop. Really, really important stuff, and it's the same with hymns as well, isn't it?
I mean, traditional hymns, Abide With Me, Lord Is My Shepherd. We're filming this at a time recently when the Queen's funeral, of course, has just been. There are some hymns that probably people don't necessarily know, so you can have whatever type of hymn option you like. You know, there's a lot of old Methodist hymns, that people might not know, but they've got some great tunes too.
Yeah, and we don't have to necessarily sing them as well. So absolutely. To complement the congregation is quite nice to have a choir singing that we sing along to. And certainly, if nothing else, it drowns out my voice. So,
I was going to say, compliment the congregation is a nice way of saying, if you don't want to listen to people sing, we can get versions of tracks that have got choirs already on there.
But there's all sorts of things we can have. Personal dove releases, balloon releases. Balloon releases really important. Perhaps a younger person's funeral. I think it's quite a nice thing to do. Sometimes we see numbers of balloons that are the same age as the person. So 10 balloons, 37.
General rule is, you go into an arrangement with people, and if you let us know what you want, we'll do our very best to try and organise it.
Yeah,
if you ask us to have a flyover, we'll do our very best to try and organise it. Can't say it's not going to cost something, but of course, we'll do our very best to try and sort out whatever your wishes are.
Make it as personal as we possibly can. Coffin choice, really important. So we of course we offer the traditional kind of wooden coffins, American caskets, but there's a lot of themed ones now, isn't there? We can have different colours, different designs, photographs of your loved one, family, important thing. I've had a bottle of wine. In fact, it was a bottle of wine in a basket. And the family asked if we could kind of tip things up so they could see the wine on the top. Obviously, that wasn't really feasible to do that. But we instead of using the catafalque at the crematorium, we placed on trestles in the middle of the crematorium, so you could see. Yeah,
I mean, there's all sorts of different designs, but also different makes of coffin. You've got wicker, cardboard, the seagrass, wool. You can have pretty much. Coffin range is just so wide these days.
Absolutely.
It can be pretty much anything you wish to.
Personal as we can make it. Funeral stationery, of course, as well. Orders of service. So I'm always about making it bespoke. We at Gisela, we have a series of templates, but I always say to use those as a guide. Let's make this as personal as possible. I was refer to one that's got a lovely photograph of the individual and then a photograph of a field behind. But why can't we make that somewhere important for that individual? So perhaps a beach or somewhere that's important to them, the back garden maybe. Yeah. Lots of different. And we can extend that further. So we can have bookmarks,
books of remembrance,
condolence, portraits, memory boards. Lots and lots of different things that we can have. Attendance cards, of course, as well, and we can make them personal.
Absolutely, and with personalisation options, of course, as well. Media is so important these days, especially sort of in COVID times. Streaming services became really, really relevant, didn't it? And a lot of places really built this into their system. So our service chapel included. You can have a service where we can stream the service live. It's recorded. It can be played back at another time.
Absolutely, that's important for people logging in elsewhere as well, so Australia, Spain. And we can do similar things on the media level. Music, it's quite nice to have some pictures to goes with that music. So we often put together show reels for people. So families send photographs in, we put a show reel together, play it to the music, and it's all choreographed at times nicely. And it's just, a bit of time to reflect. Yeah,
recommend the amount of photos to the piece of music.
Absolutely.
30, 35 photos, so it's not scrolling too quickly.
Not too fast. Or equally a little bit too slow as well.
Absolutely.
So, we don't want that. But no, there's so much, just so much we can do. I think we're only really touching on it, to be honest with you.
With personalisation, as I said, really, if you come to us and you say what you want, we will do our very best to try and make that happen. And we've only covered a small, like you say.
Absolutely. I mean, it carries on to cremated remains. The journey doesn't need to end at just the hearse. So we can offer things, cremated remains going up into space on a balloon, a weather balloon. We've seen things like that. Tattoos, all sorts of different things. It's about you and what's important to you. It's really important we get that right for the family that we're looking after.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
No problem, thank you.
So thank you for joining us again. Any questions, anything at all, anything you want us to go into a bit more detail on, please email us liftingthelid@gseller.co.uk and carry on, like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.